Tonight on Cronkite News, the latest on the investigation into the death of Charlie Kirk, including plans for a memorial here in the Valley. Plus,
kind of do our everyday routine, but we just don't go out as much as we used to.
How the Trump administration's crackdowns on immigration can impact the mental health of some U.S. citizens.
And the Phoenix Mercury lose their first playoff game against the Liberty, what they need to do heading into an elimination game on Wednesday. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Macy Markham.
And I'm Max Williams. Thank you for joining us.
We begin now with the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration across the United States.
Many U.S. citizens feel stress and anxiety because they fear immigration and customs enforcement agents may stop them.
Cronkite News reporter Kennedy Humble explains how living with stress and anxiety leads to serious mental and physiological health effects.
While ICE does not have the legal authority to detain or deport U.S. citizens, fear of being stopped by ICE is a significant concern for some individuals, particularly those with certain ethnic backgrounds or those living near borders. Immigration and customs enforcement agents are continuing to question people about their immigration status, and this Phoenix resident feels concerned.
At any given moment, an immigration officer can stop us.
Masavi Perea, an activist from Phoenix, says that in his more than 30 years of living in Arizona, he has never witnessed anything like this.
The government, there is a mean intentionality, right, just to separate families, and then to be proud of that.
The Supreme Court backed President Donald Trump's push to allow immigration enforcement officials to continue.
What we're seeing with these ICE raids and this level of cortisol that's raising within everybody is that it's not lowering.
Counselor Alvarez says that your body releases cortisone during stressful situations and it increases inflammation.
It's also going to cause issues with any part of your major organs, particularly your heart.
The American Psychological Association reports that detention, deportation, and fear of these actions intensify immigrant challenges, including family separations. Corrales says that she learns to control the fear of going out, but that she takes precautions.
We kind of do our everyday routine, but we just don't go out as much as we used to.
Perea is active in his community and helps them with informational forums.
When they have Know Your Rights workshops where we expose to people to education and to create a plan.
Alvarez says that when a person is feeling high levels of stress, anxiety, or any other mental health condition, it is best to seek help.
There are many agencies, there are many therapists that are willing to work with people, no matter what they're going through within the process, where they stand anywhere within that, and that we're a safe place.
Civil rights organizations such as ACLU recommend when stopped by ICE to know your rights, specifically the right to remain silent, the right to not sign anything, and the right to a lawyer. In the newsroom, Kennedy Humble, Cronkite News.
Now to the latest on the investigation into the death of Charlie Kirk. FBI Director Kash Patel said today DNA links to the suspect of the scene. Patel says the DNA was found on a towel wrapped around a rifle. Investigators are preparing to file capital murder charges against the suspect, Tyler Robinson, as early as tomorrow. Now, Kirk was shot and killed last week at Utah State University, and he was the co-founder of Turning Point USA, which has its headquarters right here in Phoenix. One local Turning Point member tells us she's been following the case pretty closely since it happened.
I've just been devastated ever since. Yesterday I didn't even want to go outside. All I did was stay glued to the TV for news.
Turning Point USA chapter at Desert Financial Arena in Tempe, and a public memorial will be held this Sunday at State Farm Stadium in Glendale. President Trump says he'll be in attendance.
And a deal to keep TikTok operating in the U.S. could be finalized as early as this week. That's according to U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who said today President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping will talk on Friday to finalize a deal. During Joe Biden's presidency, Congress and the White House issued a ban on TikTok unless its Chinese parent company sold its controlling stake. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at his office in Jerusalem today.
His visit comes just a few days after an Israeli strike on Doha, Qatar. Rubio met with Netanyahu to discuss ending the conflict and the Israeli military actions in Qatar. And Gaza City have drawn international criticism. And President Trump has publicly said he disapproves of the strike.
Every single hostage, both living and deceased, needs to be home immediately. Hamas can no longer continue to exist as an armed element that threatens the peace and security, not just of Israel, but of the world, and that the people of Gaza deserve a better future.
You don't have such sovereignty when you are effectively giving a base to terrorists and a place where they can ply their gruesome trade. So it's the right of every country under international law to defend itself beyond its borders against those who would kill their citizens.
These statements come just a few days after thousands of Israelis gathered in Tel Aviv, where protesters condemned the actions of Israeli government. Last week, Arab leaders met in Doha to discuss and condemn Israel's attack on Qatar, which is Rubio's next stop as he attempts to mediate this complex conflict.
And tomorrow evening, President Trump is visiting the United Kingdom as part of a state visit. Trump is set to be welcomed to the country by guards and a banquet. In fact, guards have already started rehearsing for his arrival. When Trump and the First Lady arrive at Windsor Castle, they are set to be greeted by multiple members of the royal family. Political talk is expected to be avoided with the royals. Instead, that will take place on Thursday when Trump meets with the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And coming up next, the city of Buckeye's population has greatly increased over the past few decades.
And one thing that might surprise you is that change has impacted the local dove hunting scene in a big way.
Hunters are kind of at the front lines of conservation. Whatever we can do to help conserve the resource is what we do.
Coming up on Cronkite News, find out how local hunters protect their grounds in the midst of a growing city.
And make sure you stay tuned for your 8-day forecast where we might see some relief to those upper high temperatures and maybe even a chance of rain coming later in the week.
When I was younger, there were no engineers around me, so I had to become my own role model. At ASU, I wasn't just learning to be an engineer, I was actually engineering. And graduating, I already had real-world jobs lined up. Before ASU, my goal was to be a strong, confident woman. And when I left, I became a strong, confident engineer.
Welcome back from the break. September marks the start of an unusual tradition in the West Valley, where 600 hunters travel to Buckeye to hunt doves.
Cronkite News reporter Charlie Vicario followed one group who wants the next generation to pick up the tradition, but is concerned by how fast the city is changing.
Before the sun even rises, the quiet September morning interrupted By the sound of Arizona's dove hunting season kicking off, hunters flock to Buckeye to enjoy this outdoor game every year.
We call it the family dove hunt. Valley of the Sunquilf River sponsors this hunt, and it's to get the family involved to come out and try dove hunting.
Hunters like Jim Bingle and Carter Robinson say this tradition spans generations.
Just kind of did this from a young age with my dad and my grandpa. That was kind of a cool thing we did.
But the city of Buckeye has changed dramatically since the Robinson family started hunting. 25 years ago, about 6,500 people lived in Buckeye. Now that's over 125,000, and the city plans to grow to nearly 300,000 by 2040.
That's a challenge throughout all the states is, as the cities grow and population grows, the hunting areas and the wildlife areas diminish.
Now these hunters want to protect not just their tradition, but the land and environment.
Through hunting licenses and donations and stuff like that, and they do a ton of good work, so finally got some doves in.
Hoping to raise awareness of their annual hunt and partner with the city as Buckeye keeps growing.
Hunters are kind of at the front lines of conservation. Whatever we can do to help conserve the resource is what we do.
In Buckeye, Charlie Vicario, Cronkite News.
Organizations like Quail Forever say balancing conservation with development will be a key point in protecting hunting traditions for future generations.
Yeah, and summer was unusually warm in Phoenix this year, specifically when looking at those daily lows. According to the National Weather Service, Phoenix summers usually have 7 days with daily lows in the 90s. However, this year, Phoenix reached a total of 23 days. But it's worth noting that this figure is lower than the past 2 years. Last year, there was a total of 39 days. In the year prior, 35 days. This figure is an improvement and is fortunately not breaking any records, but is still more than 3 times the average. With all these warm days, it may not feel like it, but the fall equinox is 1 week from today, and that just means the end of summer. Speaking of the end of summer and overnight lows, Phoenix might not dip below 80 tonight.
That's right, Max. It's still pretty warm out, but it could cool down later this week. Here to tell us more is Kayla McDonald from the Cronkite Weather Center.
Yes, it's still going to be pretty warm even as we're getting into those evening hours with the sun still shining nice and bright with 100 degrees around 6 o'clock. But as we're getting into the evening where we're going from 7 to 8 o'clock, we're going to dip from those upper 90s into lower 90s into those early morning lows. So looking up north, 40 degrees at the Grand Canyon, 44 degrees in Flagstaff. That's pretty cold, and it's going to be much warmer down in the valley for those lows with 83 degrees in Phoenix, 77 degrees in Casa Grande. And those highs, it's about that same pattern where up north it's 80 degrees at the Grand Canyon, 78 degrees in Flagstaff, and it is pretty warm with 105 degrees in Phoenix, 102 degrees in Casa Grande. Are we going to see some relief to these higher upper temperatures? Well, we might. So later in the week, we are getting some moisture coming up from the south. Moisture helps hold on to heat along with we need moisture for clouds. So going into early Wednesday morning and later in that Tuesday evening, we're going to see some of that moisture come up from the south and help bring us some clouds. So going into that 8-day forecast on Tuesday, it's still a high of 105, but as we're starting to get that cloud cover, it is dropping our high temperatures to 103, 98, and then on Friday with that 30% chance of rain, it's going to drop our high temperature to 94 degrees. And then as that dry air comes back in, we're going to heat back up into the next work week, and our lows are going to stay consistently within the upper 70s and 80s. With your Cronkite Weather Center, I'm Kayla McDonald.
And coming up next, Sun Devil football is back in the win column after an exciting win over Texas State.
And speaking of exciting, Macy, wide receiver Jordan Tyson might have made the catch of his collegiate career.
It was kind of like just reaction, like there was nowhere else to go but up.
Great stuff from JT. When we come back, we'll have a full breakdown of the game and what the future looks like for the Sun Devils as they enter conference play next week.
People have always had trouble trying to put me into a box. A professor, suit and tie, it's just not me. Without the ocean, I don't know what I would do. You know, the ocean's always been there for me. as Hawaiian people, we believe that the coral is the first living being to come out of the darkness. It's the foundation of our entire lifestyle, and that's what my research is about. What we do is we take photographs of the reef over long periods of time to create models that can tell us what the planet is doing. If we go deaf to what the Earth is telling us, then we'll never be able to live in harmony. If I can get my students excited about protecting the ocean, then they're the ones who are gonna really make the difference. I hope my students realize that I'm not trying to prepare them for something in the distant future. Their time is now at Arizona State University.
Innovation at the Walter Cronkite School is pushing the boundaries of traditional journalism.
Storytelling has evolved over the years. This is part of that evolution.
Students in the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Lab are using emerging technology to create scenes in augmented and virtual reality, coding playable games, and bringing the audience into the story.
They're only limited by their imagination and their willingness to learn.
Find out more at cronkite.asu.edu.
The Phoenix Mercury opened their playoff run against the defending champion New York Liberty in dramatic fashion. Cronkite News reporter Keon Russell was courtside for the overtime thriller with a disappointing outcome.
Game tied at 65, clock winding down, the moment every superstar dreams of. Alyssa Thomas gets to her spot, puts up the shot, but can't get it to go at the buzzer, sending Game 1 into overtime. Now this is what you call playoff basketball.
Just an unfortunate roll. I've made that shot thousands of times. So for me, it's no big deal. Of course, it would have been nice if it went down, but yeah, there's still a lot of basketball to play.
In the overtime period, the Liberty's playoff experience proved to be the difference, outscoring Phoenix 11-4 in the final 5 minutes as the Mercury shooting woes continued down the stretch. Defensively, the Mercury had no answers for Natasha Cloud, who finished with a game-high 23 points on an efficient 9 of 12 shooting against her former team from a season ago.
She's kind of done this traditionally in her career. She steps up in the playoffs and tip her hat. She had a hell of a game today. She was 9 for 12, and we'll take a look at the film and see what we can do better there.
Phoenix struggled to find their rhythm offensively, shooting 32.5% from the floor while also being dominated on the glass, losing the rebounding battle 48-31.
I mean, we had a lot of open looks. I feel like we really got whatever we wanted to when we moved them. It just we weren't able to hit.
I don't think we've got out-rebounded like this all year. Yeah, I mean, They did a good job on the glass. We'll do a better job in Game 2.
Game 1 goes to the defending champs, the New York Liberty, as they still won on the road. For Phoenix, it's simple: win or go home.
Mindset is go get it. It's go to New York and get it. It's no other mindset. I mean, we talked about whoever said Liberty in 3 or whatever. It's cool. Stay there. It's all right. Merc versus everybody. That's how we feel.
Reporting from Phoenix, Keon Russell, Cronkite News.
The Mercury will face the Liberty in New York on Wednesday for Game 2 of their 3-game series, as they look to even the series up and avoid being eliminated from the playoffs. From disappointment in Phoenix to joy in Glendale, we go to the Cardinals, who are now 2-0 on the season after defeating the Panthers 27-22. And while some say their performance wasn't pretty, the players like where they are at.
The whole O-line needs to play well. The quarterback, the receivers, the defense, everybody needs to do their job. So, but yeah, I think it is funny because it is an interesting feeling right now. Everybody's like, oh no, and whatever. But I mean, we're 2-0, so I'm pretty stoked about it, and we're heading into divisional right now. So I think it's an amazing place to be.
And at the Cardinals' old stomping grounds, ASU football bounced back against the Texas State Bobcats on Saturday after their loss a week ago. The offense got back on track, but defense was the name of the game for the Sun Devils. In front of a sold-out crowd, the Sun Devils displayed an offensive showcase, with quarterback Sam Levitt and receiver Jordan Tyson connecting for some highlight reel catches. The Bobcats were sacked 5 times under heavy pressure from an Arizona State defense that also forced 2 fumbles. Redshirt junior Raleek Brown rushed for a career high of 144 yards on just 12 attempts, including a 75-yard touchdown carry. ASU ended the night with a 34-15 win, and Kenny Dillingham liked his team's improvement.
I mean, I thought we had good energy all night. I think that was one of the things I was pleased with, is I think we carried over, the second half of last week in terms of the energy and the passion and how we played with on both sides of the ball into this week. So I think we're slowly figuring ourselves out. And I think every team, like I continue to say it, is you want to get better and you want to learn more and adapt to your team as the season progresses.
As the Sun Devils and the rest of the Big 12 wrap up non-conference play and look towards their Big 12 opponents, we take a look at the standings with the University of Arizona sitting at number 3, while ASU sits at number 9, just 1 spot ahead of Baylor, who also ASU plays this Saturday in Waco. Now we welcome you back to Weekend Wows, where we take a look at some of the moments that wowed us the most this last weekend. And with the Emmys taking place last night, we wanted to hand out a few of our own awards with the Weekend Wows. Beginning with the Best On-Screen Duo Action Sequence, and the award goes to ASU's very own Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson, who both combined for a spectacular play, with Tyson getting a toe-tapping touchdown as a result for the Sun Devils. Now going down to the field level, we can see Sam Levitt evading the defense, getting a diving throw for Tyson, who somehow stayed in bounds and was able to get the Sun Devils their first touchdown of the night, which ultimately led them to their win against Texas State, leaving fans at Mountain America Stadium to just say wow. And now for the top NFL Newcomer Award, this goes to a name we know far too well, Cam Skattebo. Skattebo punched in his first NFL career touchdown yesterday after leading the team in carries in a thrilling overtime loss against the Dallas Cowboys. The last time Skattebo was at AT&T Stadium, he was wowing the fans with his stellar performance in the Big 12 championship against Iowa State. And now for our last award, the Hi, We're Still Here award. This goes to the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are somehow still only 2 games out of wild card spot. The team has continued to wow the audience with their fight as they look to sneak into the playoffs even after selling at the trade deadline. With the team, and that's it for this edition of Weekend Wow. Come back next week to see what was wowing everyone over the weekend. And that's it for tonight's Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Jacob Shanker. Thank you for joining us. Now back to Max and Macy at the desk.
Thank you, Jacob. And coming up next, you may know the saying, April showers bring May flowers, but the same can't be said for pumpkins this year.
That's right, farmers are having trouble harvesting pumpkins this summer. After the break, we'll explain why harvest rates are so low right before the fall season, despite a very rainy spring.
I grew up in a small border town, and water was really important to us. Without enough water, we can't farm, we can't eat, we can't live. And the way we're doing it right now, straight up doesn't have a future. I went to ASU because this is a place where you solve problems. With vertical farming, we can grow the same amount of food with 95% less water than traditional farming. The work I'm doing at ASU is changing the way I look at the world.
3, 2, 1.
Coming up on the cut.
Coming up on the cut. Coming up on the cut.
How students can build their broadcast journalism portfolio with opportunities to learn more about on-air reporting and studio production.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at @thecut_network and on X at @CutASU.
The scientists and engineers that support the next mission to Mars could be in this class.
Getting a degree at ASU is a journey that can take you anywhere. Into a world of groundbreaking technology and renowned award-winning faculty. Professors who help you to impact the world. Whether you're on campus or at home, becoming your best starts with learning from the best.
Welcome back. We are just weeks away from Halloween, which means pumpkins.
But farmers are having trouble growing them because of a dry summer.
The pumpkin farming season goes back to May and June. Some farms experienced flooding during that time, making it harder to plant seeds. Droughts were also a concern for farmers this summer. Fortunately, growers like Whitcomb Farm in Vermont had strong crops, saving pumpkin carving for this year. That's it for tonight's edition of Cronkite News. I'm Macy Markham.
I'm Max Williams. Thank you for joining us. And to see top Arizona stories anytime, log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.